talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Thursday? Let me tell you about pro wrestling. We're going to have a very long show today. There's an awful lot to cover. Isn't that great? Thank you, StreamYard. StreamYard has been exceptionally wonderful today. It really has. Really been helping me out. I can't even tell you. It's really been doing a great job. Hopefully my microphone sounds fine and everything, but the whole place is just still lit up from yesterday's amazing visit with Rudely. My feet haven't touched the ground since yesterday. We've got a lot of things to cover before we get to the topic tonight. By the way, these guys are in midair. Anyway, got a lot of things to cover. I might have to. I can't even begin to tell you. The video that I just played you, with all the same setups as it's already been on, wasn't giving any sound today. So I had to redo everything. Let me see here. If I redo this to this, where it's supposed to be, does it do anything? I think it's less. I'm not sure. I think it is less. I'm just going to keep it here and see what happens. Who cares? This weekend's members only show, I may just try Streamlabs. I've had it. And people that watch this show enough know, once I've had it, ask Facebook about that, where I used to stream. And I wasn't even paying for that. Hey, I've got some things to show you. And you're really going to like them. One of which I wish Roller Skater Texas Girl was here, because one of them is a thing that's her, frequent viewer. But the first thing you guys are going to love. Now, SG Fanboy, who is a legend, the living legend, he created an image for me. I asked him if he could put my face over Mannix's face in a picture I had with Mannix and Rudely. And he told me, no, the AI is not letting me do that, but it will let me put your face over Rudely's face. And I said, I'm not interested in that. Then he apologized, and I said, don't apologize. You've done so much for so many for so long. So, with all that in mind, there we have. See, that should be Rudely's face next to Mike Connors as Mannix. This is what it should be. Yeah, but it's not. Instead, it's me. So everybody have a good laugh. Yeah. Kind of the way today is going, to be honest with you. It really is kind of the way today. Not the whole day either, just in the last couple of hours. Just since, yeah. Now I've got a cool thing to show you here. By the way, Doc is with us. He says side effects of the Tom Gulley Show mimic those of pervitine, explosive diarrhea, belief in Bigfoot, urge to barbecue, interest in haggis, and wanting to smack ice cream truck drivers. That guy hasn't been by yet. Chef is in the house. We love it when Chef is in the house. He's a wonderful man. People saying hi. Tim Jenkins, it says Ruda Gully. That's right. Megabit Banshee is laughing. That's a big come down from the high of yesterday. God, it was so great. I wish I could just live that moment for the rest of my life. It would be wonderful. It would be absolutely wonderful. It really would. Really, really would. Let's see. Let's do this, then let's do this, which that's stupid. Let's do this. I don't understand StreamYard at all. Hey, do me a favor. Please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, especially the subscribes, especially the likes. I need them real bad because they help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. Also, we do have memberships. We do have super chats. You guys look, I got to thank you. You were so wonderful to Rudely yesterday, and I know it was all genuine, and that's why you're classy. We don't get a lot of views around here, but the ones we get, the classy. Everything we do is classy. And I thank you for that. But that does help us pay the bills around here. Also, let's get the begging bar up. How can we not? Oh, I'm going to leave the begging bar down for a second. But when I turn it on, you'll be able to see how to turn on your gifted memberships, which some people just give them out for free. And of course, a membership unlocks that exclusive members-only content that, well, it's too good to pass up. Let's just get, let me see if I can do this properly. I'm not going to be able to, so I'm not even going to try. Let's just go ahead and, well, this will work. This will work out for us. Why don't we just go ahead? There's a lady who's in here every now and then, and her name is Roller Skater Texas Girl. And this is Roller Skater Texas Girl flying down a suburban street backwards, crossing over her skates, and then she does like a 30 or 40 foot power slide at the end of this. It's not long. I am going to play it more than once. Check this out. Here she comes. There she is. Look at that. She's zoom, 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 zoom. And are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And that's just the kind of viewer we have. I'm going to show you that again because she is as we say in Indiana, she is mo-docking. She is flying. Here we go. You can just pick her up there. Here she is, red shirt. Everybody go. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Now, lest you think that's all I have. Don't be silly. I've got more than that. Here she is at the skating rink, and it's going to be tough to pick her out. We might have to show this a couple times. But I cut the music out of this because there's all that skating noise in the background because I don't want to get hammered with a copyright violation. But we got some comments here. Let's see what the comments say. 1 week till Mania. Woohoo! James Ottawa 613. I don't even know what Mania is, but I am very happy for you, James. Welcome to the program. Let's see. We got Tim Jenkinson saying, have you covered airports or pickleball yet? Pickleball is on my list. It is, I think, the most famous of all the vegetable-related sports, so we'll do that. Doc says, our resident Cajun, by the way, says, flying down the street backwards at 150 kilometers per hour. Sorry, miles per hour. People saying hi. Once you've had it, you've had it. Doc says, is that from her TikTok? No, this is exclusive content. Well, semi-exclusive content. That was sent to me. And then, thanks StreamYard, I had to convert into a file this file makes use of a codec that is not supported by StreamYard. It's an MOV file, man. But I converted it. It was worth it. People saying hi, and then there's the wolf. He says, now that's funny. I have no idea what he's talking about, of course. But it is funny, I suppose. Yeah. StreamYard has got this thing now at the bottom of my chat, the control room chat, that says, share your referral link. And so they want me to put a link in my chat that says, try StreamYard. Try StreamYard and get a $10 discount. Oh, is there any other way I can help you, StreamYard? Why don't you give me a $10 discount, StreamYard? Why don't you do that for me? Okay, here we go. Let's get rid of that for just a second. Well, I'll just see if I can add another one. Well, we'll remove that one, and then we're going to add this one to our stage. Now, here she comes. It's hard to see. There she is right there, zzz, with another power slide. Is that chick not awesome on roller skates? Let's show that again, because it's tough to see her come out of the crowd there. Why don't I just get off the screen? Why don't we do that for starters? And get me off the screen. And then watch her come out of the crowd. You can kind of see her right there, and she does the reverse and the big power slide. That's roller skater Texas girl, man. She ain't messing around. Let's look at this other one again, too. Here she comes. This one's got a little sound. There she comes, flying around the corner backwards. She is moving, and then bam! Let's just see here. Let's examine this forensically, shall we? Because right through here now. Right there is where she starts her slide. You can see she's just picked her foot up. And so she's right there. And this is the full distance of the slide. I say that's 40 feet. Maybe 30, but definitely 30, maybe 40 feet is what I say. I'm telling you. I am telling you, that woman's mo-docking. There, that's what I like. Nothing on the screen. Thank you, StreamYard. Thank you. You're always helping me in every way. God, I love you. Let's see here. Tim Jenkins says, good evening, everyone. I hope you all had a good day. The Wolf is saying hi. John J. Harrington. H-A-R-R-I. John J. Harrington, hello to you. I don't know if you've been here before, but it is great to see you. Doc says, I would rather forcefully insert a really hot French fry in my ocular nerve than download StreamYard. Well, imagine this, Doc. You forcefully insert a really hot French fry down your ocular nerve, and you give them $45 in tax every month. Do that. Doc says definitely 30. Definitely 30. Tim Jenkinson says, can we start a GoFundMe to get Tom to fly around the world as quick as he can? It would be amazing content. So many airports and airport people. Well, I don't know if I've taken down most of the Tom, what are they, cranky travels with Tom. I guess I could be prevailed upon in one of our members only shows this weekend to play the Cranky Travels with Tom video. It's got bad words in it. Not really bad and not very many, but man, I am not in a good mood. I may have taken down also the audio podcast, because there's an audio podcast that corresponds with it. And I don't mean it's the same content. It's not. It's entirely different content. And it's not very happy. Kelvin says, if it's not WWF attitude, remember WWF? Now they're WWE. Julian Caesar says, greetings all, exciting skating vids, Tom. Well, don't thank me. Thank Roller Skater Texas Girl. Also thank SG Fanboy for this picture of me. I asked him, can you put my face over Mike Connor's face in this picture with Ruta Lee from the episode Run Sheep Run of the show Mannix? Now, he said that the thing he was using wouldn't allow him to do it. It would only put it on my face. And I was like, well, then cut the picture in half. I didn't say this to him because I felt bad asking him anyway. And he said, but I was going to say, just cut the picture in half and put it on the other one and then paste the picture back together. So, and at the end of the day, I don't know how really thrilled Ms. Ruta Lee would have been by that whole thing anyway. Let's see here. Greetings, Julian Caesar. Tim Jenkinson says the travel videos are amazing. Do I have travel videos still up? I may have some travel videos up still. They just may not be, suitable for. Gilman says, hello, Gullerinos. Hello, Gilman. Always good to see you. Tim Jenkinson says, the guy that threw trash on you and the airport workers chewing gum. Yes, I guess that is still up. I'm so sorry. I was very upset. Since Tim mentioned it, by the way, thank you, Tim. I will take that down right after the show. I'm sitting in one of those airport chairs, and there's there's a trash can like at the end of the row of chairs, and some guy's casually walking by, and he just throws his trash, misses the trash entirely, and hits me with this sandwich junk. And yeah, and the airport workers, for some reason at this place, all of them chewing gum like cattle, just was. The LA one was great. That woman on the bus talking loudly on her phone. Yeah, she was super loud. And I mean, I'm sitting there with my video camera. You see me in the front, and she's behind me, just blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying things like, I don't think you're allowed to say something more than once a minute. I mean, yeah, she was talking. Doc says that he could see the atomic skull crusher being Tom's finishing move. Doc, do you know why I put that there? That is my finishing move. Now, I was going to make it more obvious by putting the Tom in atomic in capital letters. But if you go back and listen to the old podcast episode of me and professional wrestler Handsome Johnny Starr, we start talking about finishing moves, and mine was the Atomic Skull Crusher. Yes. Tim Jenkinson, I'm so happy that you saw that. That's one where there's a lot of bleeps, and they're not necessarily even bleeps to take out bad words. They're bleeps to take out unpleasant concepts that I didn't want to be associated with. I was so mad on that trip. I do not like to travel on planes. I don't know if they have the one. Tim Jenkinson, I guess you've seen the one where the guy's talking on his phone at the gate. But it is then you. Do I still have the one up with the train traveling on the train? Because that was a blast. That was a blast. The Wolf saying hi to everybody. Wow, we're 17 minutes in. I haven't even started on the topic yet. Ruta Lee was here yesterday. What an angel. What an angel. Julian Caesar says, I suspect that is what Tom would actually look like if he didn't cut his hair so short. Tom's travels are comedy gold. Yeah, they're little travelogues. Dupa is here. Good to see you. Everybody's saying hi to Dupa. Gilman, hope the flooding didn't affect you too badly. Yes, thoughts and prayers to the folks in Kentucky. And Mike Rodick said hello to all my friends in chat. Oh, hey, Tom. It's Doc, our resident Cajun. Tim Jenkinson says, don't remove them. They are great. We need more travel videos. I don't know if you need those. I went over, you guys would be surprised how many little documentary videos I've made that are not available to the public. I'm surprised those are still available. Tim, did you see the part where I said that I'm at the compound of Outlaw Radio, and I mentioned that, and I mentioned that if I turn this camera a foot that way, I could get a body part removed for free. That was a fun trip. That was a fun trip. Doop-a-doop-a-doo says, hello, Coach. The Wolf says, oh, man, that roller is a real speed merchant. She exhibits tremendous athleticism. You know, she is small, but she's a real stick of dynamite. Have you guys managed to grasp a hold of the Wolf and I's sports jargon yet? Athletic, quick feet, speed merchant, small but a real stick of dynamite, and pugnacious. The Wolf saying hi. The Wolf saying hi. Everybody's saying hi. Yeah, the train as well, says Tim Jenkinson. Cool. I didn't know those were still up. I was not happy. And he tried to give me, the guy that threw the trash on me tried to give me $5. Like that was going to do something. And I'm like, whoa, $5. You know, what, $10 and you can go to the bathroom on me? I mean, anyway, The Wolf is saying, wow, I sure could enjoy bumping with Roller. Well, she's very fit, that's for certain. You can't do those tricks without being in shape. Tim Jenkins says, when you were filming and the woman randomly enters your cabin and starts talking. Yeah, that was a lady that, just to be, I'm about to just say forget pro wrestling and let's watch these travel videos, but I'm in my cabin. I have a cabin on the train, and I'm going from the Union Station in LA to the Union Station in Dallas. It was a fabulous trip. I've looked into doing it some more, but whoa, have they got crazy with the prices. But I am sitting there, and I've got my little camera pointing at myself, and I'm talking, and all of a sudden, the door opens up, and this lady just starts talking to me, and she's being really friendly. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, really friendly. Now, she didn't offer to marry me right off the bat like Lee did, but incidentally, I contacted her publicist today and said thank you for making the interview happen. And also, was that a legitimate offer of marriage? Because if so, people saying hi, that Roller is explosive. He says, yeah, I wondered who was sitting next to you. There's nobody. I was traveling by myself, but she wanted to sit next to me. Wolf says, the car scene. Now that's funny. Tim Jenkinson says, the train is breaking down where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house was. It actually did. The train didn't break down. We had to stop because what's the company? GXE. There's a company that actually owns the train tracks, and Amtrak doesn't own the tracks, and so that company needed to cross. And they've got very strict rules with passenger trains that you got to be miles away from the crossing. You can't just go up to the crossing and stop even. And so we had to stop for like, I don't know, was it 20 minutes or something? And we were stopped. This is no joke. If you looked out to what was my left-hand side of the train, the original house where they shot Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just sitting there 400 or 500 yards off of the tracks. Anyway, Doc says, wait, there's a topic to this show? I thought this was Tom's thoughts on the Ruta Lee interview. Well, I could talk about that Ruta Lee interview forever. I watched more Ruta Lee last night. I'm undoubtedly going to watch some more today. What a classy, just exceeded all expectations. What a wonderful lady. It's unfortunate. I mean, I could do a week of shows with her and we still wouldn't cover everything. And I'm not about to go, do what I would do and have done with lots of guests and sort of tactfully interrupt them. No, not only do I not want to interrupt, I want her to tell these stories at liberty. And somebody should get everything on her mind documented because, man, is she awesome. And more than one person has commented, and it's almost like you don't even want to comment on it because it's so inconsequential in her case. And that is, wow, for 90 years old, looks like $1 million and sharp as a tack and funny and just personable and treated me like wonderfully. And I just, like I said, I can count on one hand. Wolf says she would have gotten a real kick out of that SG picture. I'm not ridiculing myself in front of Ruta Lee. Now, if my face had been on Mike Connor's face, definitely I would have done it. And yes, she would have gotten a kick out of it. Let's see. Tim Jenkinson says, so many funny moments in those videos. I think the Travel Channel should give you a show. They really should. Oh, Tim, I'm sure you also enjoyed my remarks on the Philadelphia airport. Everything's bunched in. Everything's, yeah. Dupa says, Tom, it cracked me up yesterday when, as soon as Ruda left, you turned into a schoolboy. I did. I turned into a gushing little schoolboy. Oh, just so amazing. So good. I mean, so. Anyway. Chef says, my dad used to take me to wrestling in Indy way back in the day. I saw Dick the Bruiser and the Sheik and many, many more. Dick the Bruiser used to like mow his own lawn. You could see him all the time. And when we say Dick the Bruiser, yes, we're referring to that fellow right there. There he is, the world's most dangerous wrestler. Whether it's triceps, biceps, or what have you, he is on an extreme training regimen, yes. Tim Jenkins says she has a better memory than, well, who doesn't? That was such a great interview. Yeah, I've got to do more interviews on this show. I've got kind of a pledge here that we're going to do an interview a week. Maybe you can recreate the LA travel video and go watch her show on your birthday. I doubt that's going to be able to happen. If it can or it could, I would. Trust me. Trust me. But I've got some stuff going on that I don't think I can move. Beef Durkee says, Tom, this is probably the gayest episode you have done, but it's not your fault. What makes you say that, Mr. Expert? Mr. Dirk. By the way, Dirk, how do those Doritos taste? Oh, wrestling. You haven't heard the episode. I haven't even started talking about wrestling yet. You don't even know what my viewpoint is on it. I think wrestling, since you asked, is the only part of wrestling that's in any way interesting is when they're arguing before they even get in the ring. The little things where they go back and forth and, the overdone drama, the overdone fakeness, that I like. The actual wrestling, I don't care about that. It's all fake. The outcome is fake. The jumps and all that other physically punishing stuff, that's all real. But the outcome is fake, so who cares? I only like the part where they're arguing with each other and I'm going to see you in a cage match. That's the part that I like. And it's 3 minutes out of the whole show. Tim Jenkinson says, then you could drive her to Vegas for the wedding. I thought something, a small private ceremony off the coast of Malibu, maybe. Doc says, Pepsi is way better than Mountain Dew. Tell me I'm wrong. Pepsi Zero? Doc, you're wrong. Okay, let's get into this. Let's get into this pro wrestling. Did I cover everything else? Hopefully Roller Skater Texas Girl will come in here and I can show her the video files that I had to convert. Thank you very much. Anyway, for those of you who are new to the show and who love pro wrestling, I am going to cover it here, and I am sorry we've taken so long. Wow, I told you this is going to be a long show at the very beginning, covering up other past things. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Those things help us so much with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing, all-knowing algorithm. Plus the fact it doesn't cost you a penny. Hey, it don't cost nothing. And then we do have super chats. We do have memberships. We love it when you help us out that way because it helps us pay the bills around here. Because what would we do without StreamYard? And then turn on those gifted memberships. And I'm going to show you how in just a second here. Turn on those gifted memberships. We'll turn the phone lines on after we get the... What did I just do? We'll turn the phone lines on just after we get the topic finished. But it tells how You turn on your gifted memberships, and then some kind-hearted, wonderful person will give you a free gifted membership, and you can see stuff I don't show anybody else. And by the way, I am really surprised those travel videos are still up there. But I can tell you this. I recently went back through. I have a ton. There's a video where I go to the drag races. There's a video where I go to watch the rodeo clown dropouts in Fort Worth. There's a video where I go to fan open house day at Cowboy Stadium. There's a video where there's a bunch of other videos, I'll put it that way, that aren't there. Oh, wait. What do we got here? Coach says, Dick the Bruiser was good, but King Kong Brody was the best character ever. Oh, I don't know about that. Pepsi makes better witcha liquor, Wolf. Wolf says, Larry Zbyszko. Just thought I'd get that Gordon Solly-ism out of the way. Well, that is nice of you. And then Tim Jenkinson says they would be great to see. Well, I didn't realize those travel videos were still there. I really should take them down. They don't present me in the best light as a mature human. Let me tell you about pro wrestling. Let's see, what's an appropriate first graphic for pro wrestling here that I have? I have a lot of graphics for pro wrestling. Now, why don't we just put this one up because it's kind of funny. Let me tell you about pro wrestling. The long and storied pro wrestling. No Doc Coke does. Mountain Dew with Guru. John J. Harrington, thank you for being here, sir. The best match I ever saw was live was a house show in the 70s. Terry Funk, who I believe is from Indiana, and Dick Murdoch versus J.J. Dillon and Harley Race. Well, that does sound like a good one. And I will show you in just a second which of the wrestling federations you may have seen that in. Sounds like it might be the AWA maybe, or we'll see. Professional wrestling, also called pro wrestling, sometimes called wrestling, is a form of athletic theater. And it centers around mock combat, and it's based on the completely outlandish, hilariously ridiculous notion that these people are actually wrestling competitively. It's distinguished from amateur wrestling, which is real, and it's distinguished by scripted outcomes and storytelling and backstories. The staged nature of the matches is pretty much an open secret at this point through a practice known as kayfabe. Kayfabe, you guys know what that is? That's portraying staged events as being true or real. So you never want to break kayfabe. If you're claiming that you're a caveman from an unfrozen time, then you can't break kayfabe. You have to keep that dumb notion up. And I believe, look, there's just like there's people that believe in Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, there are people that still believe professional wrestling is real. They live among us. The commentators are in on it as well. And obviously the premise is these are bona fide real competitions. So they have characters. They usually have what's known in the business as a gimmick. It's a persona they've created. The matches are the way they advance these storylines. Feuds, maybe matches between a good guy, what they call a face, and a bad guy, what they call a heel. And it's all fake. And the wrestling ring is the main stage. Usually you have a lot of stuff that's recorded backstage or next to the stage that's all scripted as well. So this whole match fixing and all the fake stuff started in the 19th century. By the way, this is, I think this is Strangler Lewis he was the first great wrestler. Let me make sure I'm talking about the right guy here. Hold on. He's Strangler somebody, that I do know. Yeah, that's Ed Strangler Lewis. I guess he used to strangle people. Just my guess. It's just my guess. All right. So, oh God, there's so much here to cover. Good Lord, why did I do this topic? Where the heck is that? Oh yeah, 19th century. And the public thought they were real back then, but they weren't. They were just kind of fixed. But then it became more and more and more and more obvious they were fixed, and they decided instead of claiming, no, they would just lean into it, and now everybody knows it's just entertainment. Professional wrestling is performed around the world, very big in Japan, very big in Mexico and South America through promotions. Certain promotions, and U.S., Mexico, and Japan, and the U.K. are the biggest markets. It has its own culture and community. Just the merchandise alone on this stuff is through the roof. By the way, the shows are extremely well produced, both in person and on the air, if you ask me. And they have its own distinct vernacular, right? It's got tons of music associated with it, lots of video games associated with it. And authentic wrestling in this country is mostly amateur. It's an amateur endeavor. And there is an actual professional, legitimate wrestling league where they actually legitimately wrestle. Nobody watches it. Nobody. There are countries of the world where wrestling is a legitimate competitive sport. India, Iran. India has a vast pro wrestling league. So wrestling in the United States blossomed after the Civil War, with catch wrestling becoming the most popular style. And that's where you want to pin your opponent by putting their back against the ground. Fixing matches, though, started after a while. And a real match could last sometimes hours at the time. Wrestler Lou Thez, there's a famous name in wrestling, recalled that between 1915 and 1920, a series of exposés in newspapers about the integrity of professional wrestling just alienated a lot of people that thought it was real, and the whole industry went into a tailspin. But rather than perform more of these challenge matches, professional wrestlers instead committed themselves to wholesale theatrical, for performance only, fakery. I said it, fakery. Nothing but fakery. And there's a lot of reasons for this fakery, you know. Whereas boxing became a legitimate sport, even though there was fraud and match fixing, wrestling was more entertaining when it was faked. And faking boxing really didn't make it that much more entertaining. In fact, there's a good argument that it makes it less entertaining. Also, in a boxing match, the guy who loses has to get his butt kicked. I mean, he really has to get legitimately beat up. But wrestling holds can be faked convincingly without inflicting injury. And so that meant that boxers, they didn't want to take a dive because they would suffer physical harm, whereas wrestlers are like, I don't care, go ahead, fake pin me. Nobody cares. Now, wrestling started to become like an organized business, and it was a somewhat regional business. So various regions would start to control all the promotions and all of the wrestlers by default. And here's a little map Oh, by the way, why don't we get another good look at Strangler Lewis? Look at that guy. Now, does that guy not look like he wants to strangle somebody? He looks like that to me. That's what he looks like. So, double crosses. That's where a wrestler agreed to lose a match but then fought to win, were a problem in the early days of the cartels of wrestling. At times, a promoter would even award a victorious double crosser the title of champion to preserve the, very thinly veiled notion that it was a legitimate contest. Double crossers could also be sued for breach of contract. Yes. Kind of tough to do that when you also have to testify that, well, no, all of these are fake. How can you double cross a fake thing? By the 1930s, the matches that were competitive were virtually non-existent. And in April of 1930, the New York State Athletic Commission decreed that all professional wrestling matches held in the state had to be advertised as exhibitions unless, in certain cases, very rare, they were certified by the Athletic Commission. Now, this didn't apply to amateur wrestling, but all the pro wrestling, they're like, look, we're just going to start calling this an exhibition because it is in no way representing something that is not for entertainment only. Newspapers, which were the big thing then, started to completely ignore coverage of pro wrestling. And real legitimate journalists said, this isn't even a thing. What are you joking me? What are you joking me? And wrestling for a long time just sort of bounced around. Although the first professional wrestling magazine, Wrestling As You Like It, was printed in 1946. And those magazines, like that one and the ones that followed, were very faithful to the fake stories that were being promulgated at the matches. And that helped create sort of a pretense that professional wrestling was an actual sport. By the late 1950s, professional wrestling had largely completed its shift from sport to theater. And that sort of set the stage with little regional wrestling associations until Vince McMahon came along. And there was also a big thing that happened, which was the evolution of wrestling during the television age. During the TV age, this guy right here, Gorgeous George, was a famous, he looks like a face, but he was a heel. And pro wrestling's fan base had always really consisted of children and elderly, blue-collar workers, minorities. The rise of television in the 50s brought an unprecedented national exposure to a broader audience for pro wrestling because the networks didn't have any content. They were desperate for it. So professional wrestling enjoyed a period of mainstream popularity that was reinforced by visual spectacles like Gorgeous George here provided. He was a dandy, but boy, he'd whip you at wrestling. Starting in the 60s, though, networks wanted more mainstream, what we like to call real sports, like baseball and football and the rest, and pro wrestling was dropped from prime time, if not altogether. And that core audience shrank back to kind of what it was in the 30s and 40s. But nevertheless, there was a brief boost in ratings, and the AWA, which had emerged as an independent promotion in 1960, was setting new standards in how professional wrestling was presented on television, all while the NWA, it was basically National Wrestling Alliance, maintained a strong following in the South. But by the 1970s, professional wrestling entered a more pronounced and sustained decline that persisted into the 1980s. And let's just get to some of your comments, and then I'll show you the wrestling associations, as it were, that when they were very regional. Let's see. Lemonade with liquor. John J. Herring says Western states out of Amarillo. Yeah, the federations themselves were regional. The wrestlers were not necessarily bound by a federation. They could go from one place to another as they pleased for the most part. They were independent contractors. Wolf says, Coach, you just like Brody because he did nothing but bark. Megabit Banshee says, Bigfoot is more real than wrestling. And that ain't saying much. The Wolf says, Mega, I would love for you to fake arm wrestle with me. Doc says, I know a guy who's co-owner of an amateur wrestling company. Sadly, it's up in Canada. Yeah, they have like backyard wrestling and stuff. If you've seen it on YouTube, it's absolutely brutal. Dupadoo says, even though wrestling isn't real, it still takes athleticism. I think that's well said, Dupa, because those jumps off the third turnbuckle and all that, well, the thing this guy's doing, that is real. The outcome of the fight is not real. People saying ha. You got people saying hi and people saying ha. Excuse me. Agreed, Dupa. Tim Jenkinson says, when I was young, we had UK wrestling on TV every Saturday. Oh, and the Wolf's going to talk about one of my favorites here, Wilbur Schneider and his abdominal stretch. Alias the guillotine, the guillotine. Well, Wilbur Schneider was the world's most scientific wrestler. That's how you knew how to do the abdominal stretch. He was a peer of Dick the Bruiser. Doopadoo says, Tim didn't realize wrestling was popular in the UK. Oh, yes, the British Bulldog, for crying out loud. Tim Jenkinson says, I'm amazed wrestling has survived even after the UFC has become so popular. Coach Mike Rodick says, Wolf, you ain't wrong. That was a big selling point for me. Tim Jenkinson says, it wasn't so popular here. It was taken off TV. Ooh. Wolf says, Tim, no MMA could be as cool as the stun gun. And what about the Sheik who would throw fire? What about Baron Von? Anyway. Doopadoo says the first photo of the night is sort of supporting Beef Durkee's statement. Oh, that thing there. Yeah, it really is. Well, I think the first photo of the night was this, although it's not making my argument any stronger. And neither is this. He's using the front cradle in the picture. Tim Jenkinson says some of the old ones were highly skilled, like Billy Robinson. Doc says ECW. A lot of people like the ECW. Wolf likes the NWA. Julian Caesar says wrestling is sort of like Olympic boxing. The athleticism is real, but the outcome of the matches are fixed. Yeah, that used to be a real problem. Do we have ha saying people? Yeah, people saying ha. Hi, Julian. Hi, Doopa, and hi, everyone else, too. And Julian's getting some smiles. He's getting some smiles in the crowd. Now, this is what I'll show you next. This happens to be the map of all the federations. And so, Wolf, ours was the World Wrestling Association. And this is back in the day. This isn't now, or it wasn't. It's not full time. It's not like for the entireness of history. But if you have a big screen, you blow it up, you can see just how regional these things really were. None of them had a nationwide coverage. Some of them went up in Canada, some of them didn't. So that's just Canada and the United States. But you can look fondly on the place where you're from and say, well, that was my area there. Worldwide wrestling was the sort of the east coast of Maine down to Maryland, it looks like. So whatever your taste was, that's there on that image. That's there on that image. Yeah. There was a group in the 1920s called the Gold Dust Trio. And they introduced a ton of the moves, most of them, in fact, that have become the staples of fake pro wrestling. like body slams, suplexes, punches, finishing moves, out of the ring countouts. And by the 30s, these wrestlers were generating a persona, an actual image, like these two fellas were known for. You know, you guys know those two fellas, don't you? I mean, you've seen those fellas before in your wrestling journey. I would assume they're relatively well-known fellas, as far as I can determine. The guy on the left is Sting. The guy on the right is the legendary Ric Flair, who's quite popular, just extremely popular. Very popular man. Very popular man. So in August of 83, the World Wrestling Federation, which is a promotion out of the Northeast, withdrew from the National Wrestling Alliance, and Vince McMahon took over as boss. And so now, WWF was not bound by the territorial contractual obligations of NWA, and he began expanding his promotion into the NWA. Originally they had agreements saying, I'm not going to get in your area if you don't get in my area, and they divvied the whole country up like a pie, like I just showed you. And by the end of the 80s, the WWF, because they were so aggressively competitive, would become the sole national wrestling promotion in the United States. And cable TV was a huge part of that. Huge part of that. The WWF started out with this show called All American Wrestling on the USA Network in September of 83. So what do you think about that? Yeah. The NWA tried to pull sort of little stunts and tricks to compete with Vince McMahon, but it failed because the members of the NWA didn't want to be part of one central authority. They wanted to be going all over the country and do whatever they wanted, whereas McMahon says, if you're in my promotion, it's national. You'll go and do what I say, when I say, how I say. Spring of 1984, the WWF purchased Georgia Championship Wrestling, which had been airing for some time, ailing, due to financial mismanagement. In the deal, the WWF acquired Georgia Championship Wrestling's time slot on Turner Broadcast Television. And Vince McMahon, agreed to keep showing the Georgia matches in that time slot, but he was unable to get his staff to Atlanta every Saturday to fulfill his obligations, so he sold it to TBS, and he sold the Georgia Championship Wrestling and its time slot on TBS to Jim Crockett Promotions, and that became WCW. And then Ted Turner, like a few years later, just bought it and renamed it what it is today. What it is today. There are things that are common in the industry. There are certain tenements, certain pillars. One of them is, I've already told you, is kayfabe. Must not break kayfabe under. Did you notice last night when Ruta Lee said, "Will you marry me?" I didn't break kayfabe. I went right along with it. That's because I am a serious pro wrestler. I think the biggest sort of combat to the notion that some of these loons have that pro wrestling is real is it's not called a sport. It's called entertainment. And they have to do that so they don't get sued. Let's see. Where was that? Okay. So actually a lot of people consider pro wrestling to be theater. I don't even consider it's not even a fake sport. It's just theater. I used to call it steroid theater. You want to watch steroid theater? But it's mostly just pantomime, baby faces, heels. Many of them have well-named finishing holds like the Atomic Skull Crusher or the DDT or the abdominal stretch, as Wolf mentions. They're normally thematic. You don't really need to have been a legitimate wrestler before becoming professional, but it is seen somewhat as advantageous due to the acrobatics and the demanding physical toll that pro wrestling takes, regardless of the fact that the actual outcome is totally fake, 100% illegitimate and fake, and super fake. It's fake upon fake, surrounded by fake, coated in fake, deep battered in fake, and then fried in fake. However, it's important to mention that a popular performer by the name of Kurt Angle is the first Olympic gold medalist in wrestling to be in professional wrestling. And he won his gold at the 1996 Olympics in freestyle. Another prominent performer, Brock Lesnar, is a former NCAA wrestler who won the NCAA Division I National Championship in 2000, and also a noted eater of steroids. He makes steroid sandwiches, big, thick ones, with a lot of cheese. And he eats steroids like most people eat Skittles, popcorn, or peanuts. He loves gulping down them steroids, does Brock Lesnar. Yeah. Pro wrestling does have rules, but those rules are only there to enhance the drama and fakeness. And those rules change all the time. They just get brought up like, well, actually, he can't have his girlfriend at the side of the ring or whatever, just to make more drama, right? So they're in a wrestling ring. I can show you. Look at this Ric Flair. Ric Flair is so popular. He's 9 million years old, and every now and then he comes back and does a little something, something. But there's Ric Flair's. So that's what a ring looks like. I've got other pictures. Here's Kane, if you want to see Kane. Kane always has fire. Very well known for pyrotechnics. But it's basically the same thing as a boxing ring, right? And the standard method of scoring is the fall. You pin your shoulders to the mat, the opponents, that is, typically for 3 seconds. And the pro wrestling referees are known for pounding their hand down on the canvas and then rubbing it for a second, lifting it up, doing the same thing. You can force your opponent to submit through normally, excruciating, life-ending pain. You can also win if your opponent is disqualified, which you may be wondering. I've seen people hit other people with chairs. How could you possibly ever get disqualified in this form of theater? And I don't know the answer to this question. It's amazing to me that it's like, wait, this is a play. You can't get disqualified during a play, but another way you can win is if your opponent is outside of the ring too long, or you can also just knock out your opponent, You can just knock them out. Bam. Bam. Wrestling matches, although they're only one fall, they can be set for a number of falls. Best 2 out of 3, best 3 out of 5. Usually it's just one fall. Some of them have a time limit. Really is a time limit. There's also different styles of matches. You know what I mean? Like a ladder match. A ladder match is, you got to climb a ladder to get this big prize or something that everybody wants. And people just, beat each other up to keep them from getting to it. You can also use the ladder as a weapon, by the way. Usually the prize of a ladder match is getting to wrestle for the championship. There's the cage match. If I have to explain the cage match to anybody, they need help. Another match is called the Battle Royal, and that's where all of the wrestlers enter the ring to the point where there's like 20 or 30 of them there, and the objective is to throw any opponent over the top rope and out of the ring with both feet on the floor to eliminate them. And the last one standing is the winner. So the Royal Rumble is a variation of this, very famous one. The referee can also play a part in all these, I'll call them hijinks, sure. The referee can be an inside man. In multi-man lucha libre matches, 2 referees are used, one inside the ring, one outside. Here's a lucha libre match. This is a Hispanic thing. And these are luchadors who always wear the masks. That's what luchadors are famous for. Always wear those masks. Guest referees are quite common. Quite common. And there's also like good guy special referees that'll fight back against the heel. Especially if the referee is like a former athlete or wrestler or famous martial artist like Tito Ortiz or somebody like that. Heel referees, bad referees, evil referees may assist a heel wrestler. And they can do that by counting super fast when the good guy wrestler is being pinned, and counting super slow when the bad guy is about to get pinned. They can allow the heel to use super illegal tactics. They can disqualify the face wrestler for really unfair reasons. Or they can feign unconsciousness for way longer. They can fake like they've been knocked out when they're not, in order to allow the evil guy to use a lot of evil tricks against the good guy. So there's tag team wrestling. That's when you have to tag a fellow wrestler and switch places with them. Got to switch the old places with them. Let me see here. There was another thing I wanted to cover. A lot of character gimmicks, lots of them. There's the good guy, the bad guy. There's the guy that's the Eskimo. There's the guy that's correctional facilities guy. Tons of them. One of my favorite bits of all time was when Andy Kaufman became the intergender champion of the United States. Which I think is just hilarious. He goes, "Look, I couldn't ever beat a man in wrestling, but I don't think there's a woman on the planet that can beat me." And by golly, he started, when men didn't even wrestle women. Andy Kaufman, because it was seen to be unfair and disrespectful, Andy Kaufman used this thing to gain attention when he created the Intergender Championship and declared it open to any female challenger. And there he is, by the way. That's normally that woman in the red hair has white hair, and that is Deborah Harry. And there's apparently someone counting him out there, or trying to. But he held that intergender championship for a long time, strangely enough. Intergender singles bouts were first brought on the national level in 1990s. Luna Vachon, who faced men in the Extreme Championship Wrestling in WWF. Later, Chyna became the first female to hold a belt that was not exclusive to women when she won the WWF Intercontinental Championship. Intergender wrestling was just uncommon in impact. So there you go. I won't cover midget wrestling. It's just too silly. You got to admit, it's pretty silly, man. Mainstream wise, it's actually still very popular. I don't think it's as popular as it used to be, but these conventions, just get scores of people. There's a lot of terminology that originated in professional wrestling that has made its way into our daily lexicon, and those are terms like body slam, tag team, SmackDown. There's a lot of them. Let's see here. Man, I think that's going to be me exhausting most of my knowledge on pro wrestling. Do I have any other photos to show you? I really don't, other than just to show you this here with Andy Kaufman, I guess. But Andy Kaufman's fights with women were legendary. Just absolutely legendary. Let me see here. Where's that photo? I want to get rid of it. Where's it at? Oh, there it is. Where it be? Let me get to some of your comments here. And then maybe I'll play Roller Skater Texas Girl doing the power slide again. Let's see. Shep says, sorry, Tom, I have to go. Say goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. People laughing at Julian. People saying goodnight. People saying hi. Dupa, I've seen that movie, move in the picture to crush a guy before. Oh, wow. Doc Torn says, Cobra Kai. That's still a thing, by the way. Used. I think I picked up on that. John J. Harrington says, we went to Western States shows and also world-class shows. You had a choice of shows. You had a bevy, some would say. I'm out of Coke Zero, and now I have more Coke Zero, but I figured I should drink some more. Did you guys know that Ruta Lee was here yesterday? It was a hell of a thing. And she needs more views. I don't even think we've hit 100 on her. So wake the kids, phone the neighbors, post that on your social media. Rodney Dangerfield got a couple hundred. And great as Rodney is, he's never done the show. I don't think he's likely to. John J. Harrington says World Class was run by the Von Erichs. Western States was run by the Funks. Terry Funk had quite a movie career. He was in Roadhouse, he was in Paradise Alley. Julian Zeezer says suplex is a real move, too. I've seen it in the Olympics. It is a real move. John Harrington, woo! What's all the wooing for? Oh, that's for Ric Flair. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, that's what it's for. The Wolf says, Dupa, I was runner-up in 2 open tournaments in college. Oh, yes, he was. Let's see. Sting kept himself busy with the police and wrestling. Well, you're not talking about Gordon Sumner. I mean, or whatever his real name is. The real Sting was involved with a lot of real police, not the band. And, yeah, it's bad. That dude's bad news. Doc says 16 heavyweight champion, Nature Boy, woo, Ric Flair, yes. Doopadoo says, Wolf, I thought so, but I don't trust my memory anymore. My apologies. I chat with a lot of people and sometimes can't remember who said what. Dupa, welcome to my world. Tim says, Tom the Power Bomb Gulley. Well, certainly the Atomic Skull Crush. Did you know Ruta Lee was here yesterday? I can't even believe it. Can't even believe it. Doopadoo says, Wolf, wrestling has different weight classes. Did you have trouble finding people your size? And Wolf says, Dupa, I can't remember what I say. I'm old. I'm also crazy. So that doesn't help. That's true. Wolf says, not Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. All right, man. Everybody just... Julian Caesar says, steel cage matches are real. Steel cage matches are brutal. That explains why Brock has stomach issues. Brock Lesnar, just steroids. It's the way his eyes are this close. Julian Caesar, especially when Bigfoot takes part in the match, which he never does because Bigfoot's not real. Big John Studd is real. Bigfoot, not real. Tim Jenkinson says somehow the ref is always distracted when that happens. Yes, he's helping attend to another wrestler's shoelaces or something. VAR would... Tim Jenkinson. VAR, which is... people that watch soccer know what it is. Video assistant referee. In soccer, they review all the very big points in matches, goals being scored, red cards, certain other things, and offsides. And so, yes, video assistant referee would definitely kill wrestling. It's kind of cool because they do this. They make the outline of a TV. I often wondered if they'd have done it earlier, if they'd have made a square, made it more like a real TV, old TV. They should bring back the I Quit matches. That's what was. There's another one called a suitcase match, and that means whoever loses has to throw his clothes in a suitcase and leave town. Julian Caesar says Tim Jenkinson, time to introduce instant replay to wrestling so the refs can see what actually happened. The Wolf says, I personally knew the lady supplying those steroids to pro wrestling and pro football. Yeesh. What is going on there? Looks like they're dancing. They should be dancing. Yeah, it's one of those matches where somebody's trying to throw a bunch of people out and they've clung together. Did you know Ruta Lee was here yesterday? Was that not? Have we belabored that enough? God, I hope so. Gilman says Vince McMahon should come back to WWE as the defecator. The Wolf says he eats steroids like the Germans eats the chocolates. The tasty German chocolate. Andy Kaufman was the ultimate heel. I saw one of his matches and the crowd was ready to attack him. Oh, yeah, he was really good at it. Dupadoo says, has there ever been a let me tell you about Andy Kaufman? There hasn't, but I got to get a new piece of paper here. I got to get organized. I got to get this whole... Let's see here. Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman is a real character that we would cover around here, too. That's no good. Oh, that's no loss of mine. And it's YouTube telling me that my show's on. Thank you. Thanks, YouTube. Did you and StreamYard get together and think of ways to help? Gilman says Andy was a great villain. Dupa says I came across Dark Side of the Ring at the end of 2020 lockdown. I ended up binge watching it. That's a great series. It really is, Dupa. Thank you for mentioning that. Is wrestling mostly responsible for making pay-per-view a going concern? I would say that boxing was the first thing that did that, but I would also say that wrestling exponentially increased it. Tim Jenkinson says, someday, hopefully, you do a director's commentary on the travel videos. Tim Jenkinson, I am seriously considering showing some of that stuff during the members only. And I might have to take it off the internet. Some of that stuff, I don't know if I want my coworkers knowing about that. Megabit Banshee says, who would win a wrestling match, Bigfoot or Mothman? No one. They're both not real. Bigfoot versus Mothman. Neither one of them is real. Good night, Chef. Chef, you have a good evening. You're a good man, Chef. Let's see here. I don't want to talk about Japanese wrestling. I don't want to talk about women's wrestling. I already covered intergender. I also covered the fact that it's a big part of various cultures. I covered the phrase, the measurements of popularity. There's a number of ways to do that. Study and analysis. If you believe it, there's a lot of study and analysis of pro wrestling. It's called soap opera for men, and it fills the role that literature and theater used to. There's classic heroicism. There's commedia dell'arte. There's revenge tragedies, there's morality plays, there's burlesque. Basically the characters and storylines that they portray are there to reflect the current mood, attitudes, and concerns of society. So, documentary filmmakers have also studied the lives of wrestlers and the effects the profession has on them and their families and their bodies. There was a documentary in 1999 called Beyond the Mat that actually did focus on Terry Funk, who was a wrestler nearing retirement, Mick Foley, a wrestler in his prime, and Jake Roberts, a former star fallen from grace, along with School of Wrestling students trying to break into the business. So, the 2005 release of Lipstick and Dynamite, Piss and Vinegar, the First Ladies of Wrestling, chronicled the development of women's wrestling throughout the 20th century. Pro wrestling has been featured several times on HBO's Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel and many other places. So there you are. There you are. And I know it was quick, and I know it was super sort of high level. That's really all I got to tell you about pro wrestling. I mean, we could go way into it. It's probably smarter to do that when we talk about a specific wrestler. But there you go. Tim Jenkinson says it was all started with the miners in Yorkshire. They came up with catch as catch can wrestling. Doopadoo says Mothman. Man. I think now is when we're going to show roller skater Texas girl in her power slide move again. Oh, come on, you piece of junk. Watch this. Yeah, that's some skating. And here's the other one. The power stop too. Bam. Man, that's 20 or 30 feet on its own. Let's watch that again. Whoops. Let's watch that again. Okay, so we got to roll that one more time. Because I got to show when she starts it. I'm a little late there. Just a touch late. Picture go backwards. Picture go backwards. Sorry, that's what Monk always says. Picture go backwards. Okay, so let's say she starts it there. How many feet is this? 20. Probably 20. You got a wall there. It ain't her fault. It ain't her fault. It also, I already did that one. She needs a time machine so she could be in an 80s movie. Who rudely needs a time machine so I can meet her when she was in high school. When I was in high school. Just a couple crazy kids caught in a time machine. All right. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. All those free things you can do. Help us with the algorithm. We have super chats. We have memberships, although you wouldn't know it by tonight. And turn on those gifted memberships in case somebody doesn't. All right. Let's do this. I can open up the phone lines or, well, here we go. Dupa says, I could never skate like that. No balance. Wonder if Texas roller skater ever danced. I'm sure she did. I have to admit, I'm just going to answer for her. Of course she did. I can do one of two things. I can open the phone lines, or I can put the link in the room. Which would you prefer? Tomorrow night's show will be on the attempted assassination of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, during which the mayor of Chicago, Anton Cermak, was killed, was actually killed. And for those of you who are wondering, the assassin did not say, "Missed it by that much." That was not said. What brand of water is this? It's not bad. Pure Life. This is probably the store brand or something at Walmart. I just went, what's the cheapest water? Here we go. Link or phone number? Link or phone number? Or just end it. I can just end it. We don't need to, put on airs. Tim Jenkinson says, why are people always trying to kill presidents there? Hey, dude. Are you telling me that in the rich and storied tradition of the United Kingdom, people weren't trying ever to, make the king or the prince or whomever go away? Ever hear of a fella named Guy Fawkes? You got your own problems. The better question, Tim, is why are people more often than not unable to make it happen? Let's see here. Pescado Joe. Whoops, come on there. Thanks, StreamYard. Pescado Joe, thank you for the $1.99. He says, can you do a show about red bar tapes? Not sure I know what red bar tapes are. Are you talking about tapes of the internet personality Red Bar? And if so, where can I get access to them? And I'll see. Tim Jenkinson says, yeah, I guess it would happen here if people had guns. Well, didn't need a gun for Guy Fawkes with a bomb. I mean, I think various areas of the United Kingdom had problems with bombs. You guys had a lot of things happening with bombs. When I was a youngster. Oh, the tube bar tapes. I could do a show about it. As a matter of fact, Pescado Joe, the gentleman who was the head of Film Threat, one of the few ways you can see a movie that I helped produce, a short, it's called Ouch, and it's on a DVD, or maybe it's streaming, also a short called Red, that stars Lawrence Tierney. And what was done with that movie was a whole bunch of black and white stills were taken of Lawrence Tierney. For those of you who don't know who Lawrence Tierney was, he was a gangster. He was in tons of gangster movies in the 30s and stuff. But by the 90s, he was in Reservoir Dogs. You know, the main guy, the old guy that's like, yeah, you'll be whoever you want. I just don't care. Give me your dollar. You know, we get this project open. We'll go down to the beach. You find me a different person. Till then, you're Mr. White. You're Mr. Pink. That old guy, that's Lawrence Tierney. So, Pescado Joe, they took him and had him on the phone doing all these poses and stuff. They took several thousand pictures. And then they edited the best pictures to the tube bar tapes. Now, for those of you who don't know, the tube bar tapes were passed around on cassette tapes in the 80s and 90s. And what they were a series of prank phone calls that were done to a place, I believe in New York City, called the Tube Bar. And, hello, Tube Bar. And they'd go, is Al there? Al who? Alcoholic. Alcoholic. And everybody would start laughing. And if you watch The Simpsons, the bartender on The Simpsons is somewhat based on that character. So they came up with all sorts of names and ways to torture him. And this guy, Red was his name, at the 2 Bar, this person answering the phone, ostensibly a bartender or manager, he would say the most evil things. Why don't you come down here? I'll cut you open and show you all the black stuff inside. I'll put 2 Z's on the side of your face. I mean, yeah, my bad. Don't worry about it, Piscato Joe. Gilman says, love Red. Not the Bruce Willis movie, but the short Red. If you buy the DVD, one of the extras is a movie called Ouch. It's directed by Chris Gore. I think I'm the assistant director, associate producer, or something like that. And then the star of it is actually a guy named Glenn Barr, who was the background animator on Ren and Stimpy. And he also is an incredible artist. He does these amazing paintings and stuff. So, yes, Piscato, let me see here. I might want to have to do that. 2 Bar. I might want to have to do that. I don't even know what the legalities are playing some of that stuff, and I don't know that I can or want to on this show. It's pretty profane. There's a lot of dirty words. But might do one someday. But I still haven't gotten an answer. Link or phone, I'm leaning toward just end it. Nobody seems to really have a lot of enthusiasm for coming on. And I've had 2 really big back-to-back days. I had a giant, important meeting today, which is becoming more and more common event. I want to put a stop to that. We got to put a stop. And by the way, Ruta Lee was here yesterday. Ruta Lee, my #1 episodic television actress of all time, way before I knew I'd be able to have a chance to speak to her. Way before that. Way before that. So anyway, what's it going to be, kids? Do we want to put a fork in it here this evening? We just put a fork in it, or do we want to? How do we want to handle this? I had to set up my audio differently. Hopefully that didn't mess things up. Well, Tim Jenkinson, here's what I'm going to do. Thank you for asking. I've got a short list. I've got a list of people I think I could probably get. And then I've got a list of people, and I need to organize all of those this weekend. And then there's a wish list. There's people that I just need to take a flyer and see if I can get them. So, I could, there could be things that are like about me. I could have maybe some old college soccer teammates on, maybe a family member. One of my sisters is supposed to get back with me about doing a mental examination. Other people that I've known in the past. Of course, we've had Wolf on the program. And then there's folks like I want to at least ask Robert Klein. If we had the numbers up on this show, I'm certain I could get a lot of these people, but we don't. We simply don't. I wouldn't do it if I was Robert Klein. You got Ruta Lee, so anything is possible. Well, actually, the publicist for Ruta Lee probably has a number of others that would be great to get. But I don't know that you can go to that well a ton. You got to be judicious about it. Aim high. I will. Gil Man says, when is the wedding? Loved the grandmother story. Wasn't it great? Isn't she just spectacular? So, there's a number of authors that I can get. I have to just sit down, go through all of my contacts on Facebook and Twitter and here, all the rest and see who I could get. Jesse keeps telling me that I should do a show with Milo Yiannopoulos and that he can make that happen. And I keep going, what would Milo Yiannopoulos want to do on this show? Because I don't talk politics and don't care about it. Terry Nee says, my door knows people. Well, I would, frankly, Terry, I would love to interview your door. That would be great. Sister performing a mental examination, says Duba. Well, I would take the exam and then she would give the results of the exam here on the air. I think I can get one of my college professors, if you guys would be interested in that. If you remember, she came in here a couple of weeks ago. Terry's door. Hello, neighbor. Tim Jenkinson says, yeah, he would just talk about how much he loves Trump. I don't, whatever. But I'm pretty sure I could get one of my college professors, a really, really cool lady. And there's various sports people I could probably get, of note. But it's just a matter of making a list and asking them. So that's and also asking you guys who you'd like me to try and get. When I had my podcast, it was way more popular than this. So it was much easier for me to get people. Now, I didn't get everybody I wanted, but I asked a lot of people I knew I was unlikely to get. So we'll have to see. Tim Jenkinson, that's a tough ask. Troy Aikman, but I'm pretty sure I could get some Dallas Cowboys. I don't think I could get Troy Aikman. Don't think that's happening anytime soon. I don't think that's happening anytime soon either. Never know. You just never know. So, you just never know who you might not be able to get. John Wayne Bobbitt? Tim Jenkinson says you could probably get a lot of players from the Browns. Yeah, probably any of the players from the Browns. Anybody from the Mavericks is probably desperate to talk to somebody. So anyway, I will get to work on that. We will try and get some more some more interview guests of note. I can't really think of, is that guy still alive? Let me see here. He's still alive. There's a science fiction writer I could try and get. He's up there though. I don't want to just interview, up there. Let me see. Just interview myself as Jerry Jones. Well, Tom, it's good to be here. We're glad that you found the time. What about soccer players? I see now. That's something I've always wanted to do, Dupa, is interview my favorite old North American soccer league players, because those guys are probably in their early 70s, and so I could, that's not a bad suggestion, but it just feels like a lot of people aren't going to be into that because it's soccer. Yeah, go rest. You'd have a busy couple of days. Okay. Tell us about grass clippings. Tell us about twist ties. Yes. Tell us about nose hair. The Wolf says, I'd say link, but I'm trying to get my computer online. Yeah, I think I'm just going to end it. Wolf, Dupa, Terry, everybody's saying hi. Yeah, man. The athletes, I think if I get an athlete, it's got to be a pretty legit athlete. Tim Howard, maybe. There's no way I'm getting Tim Howard. There's no way I'm getting anybody that currently has a full-time job with a major network. I just don't think that's going to happen. Trying to think. It's weird because even when I was on a terrible sports radio station in Dallas, I could get big people on the show because it was a station in Dallas. And when you're a one-man band and you're not doing that well, gotta grow the audience. Gotta grow the audience. Happening too slowly for my liking. Maybe you can call prisoners. I can always call prisoners. And maybe that's a route too, is call some famous villains. Maybe that's a deal. I don't know. There are times when I can get sort of famous people. But when you've got, 1,150 subscribers, and most of your shows don't even get 200 views, you're going to have a rough time getting major guests. You just are. My hope is that if I make an episode enough of a showcase, in other words, if they watch a show about, say, Ruta Lee, and they go, wow, he really made that great about her, that would be nice to have about me, something like that. Then maybe that's a start, but that's a rough way to go. That is a rough way to go. Tim Howard, maybe. Maybe you can call for a Death Row call-in show. Sure. Gordon Keith. It wouldn't hurt to ask. I've met Gordon, and I've emailed back and forth with Gordon many times. So that would be one. Mike Reiner would be one. There's other local Dallas folks that I could probably try and get. Just got to see. Just got to sit down, make that list. And then there's other sources of interviews that I do have, like publicists and publishing houses and things like that. And I just need to go through those lists, write them down, start scheduling them, and go from there. And rock and roll from there. So, I want the subscribes and the likes. The likes I need for more views, which is important to get guests. But the subscribes, I legitimately don't care about that number. I'm more interested in the views, but other people are. So even if I got a bunch of people that just subscribed and went, I'm never watching this, that would be fine with me. That would create the illusion I'm looking for. I don't know who that is. A pickleball player would be funny. And I used to get great guests. Like there was a guy from MIT that made this really incredible technology that kids could hook up these wires to anything. And it would turn it into a piano. Like he made one out of bananas, the banana piano, and this imaginative learning softwares and stuff. So, they're out there. I just kind of need to find them. Sometimes, if there's a large convention about something, maybe the Texas Frightmare Weekend, I might be able to get somebody from that. Although I had an ongoing feud with them about 10 years ago, and for good reason. Yeah, I gotta. Like I said, when I had my podcast, it was doing well enough that people were like, "Oh, sure, I'll come on your deal," and that it was just kind of like I couldn't get super giant people, but I could get a lot of interesting people and a lot of like C level bumping up into B level. That I could do. Let's see if Tom in Greg Williams. Now here's a little thing. Inventor of the banana piano. Yeah, I could try to get him again. Terry Nee says Greg Williams. You want me to try and get good old Greg? Let's see. Daggone it. Was it Greg the Hammer? Greg the let's see here if I can make that happen. Yeah, Greg the Hammer Williams. There was a period of time when I was talking with Greg quite a bit. And I think that Greg has appeared on Reiner's radio show, maybe even his podcast, but they have a long history together. And I know that Greg has, for all intents and purposes, he has really exited private life. And I don't really want to bother him. But at some point maybe I would. But I don't really want to. But the Hammer, Greg Williams is just a wonderful guy. He really is. And I wish him the very best. Doopadoopadoo says, if Tom interviewed a pickleball player, we would all be playing pickleball within a week. I doubt that. Tom wouldn't be playing. He's not a fan. Don't get me wrong. The only thing I don't like about pickleball is the name. It makes me feel silly. But I've seen it played. I've been asked to play before, and I think it's just as fine a sport as anything else. John Williams. I don't think I'm getting John Williams and his orchestra. Brady Bunch Greg Williams has an orchestra. Rick Roberts. I don't think I'm going to get Rick Roberts either. I don't think I'm going to get, what was the guy asking me about the other day? Russ Martin. I think Russ Martin would be a tough get. A really tough get. I could get, dang it. This is really bad. Man, this is really bad. This is one of my best friends in the world, and I'm not remembering his, let me see here. Dave Michaels. Sorry, Dave Michaels. The problem is with Dave Michaels, I remember his real name more than I remember his on-the-air name. I could get Dave Michaels on here in a drop of the hat. Junior Miller. Nah, probably not. Probably not. Him and Jubb, I might not want. I think they're doing their own thing. Looks like they should have gone with Lazy Tennis. That's funny. It's tennis for older people. I call it giant ping pong, kind of. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this baby up. But before I do, I think I just want to show Roller Skater Texas Girl one more time here. Look at this. Just flying. And then all of a sudden, pow. Look at that. She went at least the entire distance, like from this driveway, isn't it? All the way down to there. That's the full length of a residential space. Let's try that again. Okay, here we go. Okay, actually she starts right in here. She doesn't quite start here. But she goes all the way to the other end of that lot. So let me see if she really starts a little earlier here. Oh, I guess she does maybe a touch sooner. Yeah, she's doubled up there. So right here. Well, she goes a little bit beyond, so it could be the full length of a lot. And right here, let's just get this one going. All right. Now, let's see here. Come on. Oh, come on, you piece of junk. we go. And she's whipping through, and so let me see if it's a little sooner. I think it starts about there, really. It was when she makes the turn and starts it. And then, bam. Really pretty good, especially when you consider that the retaining wall is there. With all those crazy colors. That's how little angels feel playing normal. She must have years of experience. She does. I wonder how many bones I would break if I tried Texas roller skater girl's move. I bet you if she taught you, you'd be fine in no time. Tim Jenkinson says, I'm surprised they haven't done fighting on roller skates yet. They've done just about everything else. Plus fighting in ice hockey is popular. Yeah. She must go through a new roller skate a month. Well, we can ask her. If she shows up, we'll ask her. Anyway, man, oh man, you guys were great yesterday with Ruta Lee. Thank you for being so kind and wonderful and complimentary. I'm looking at that old clock on the wall, and it says, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get on up out of here. Now, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And with all that being said, I think there's only one thing left to say. Oh, by the way, tomorrow, attempted assassination of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Till next time, we'll see you next time.
Talking about